How are you, Annikka? Good to have you here.
Yeah, good to chat to you as well, Alex. Thanks for having me on the podcast.
So you are, of course, the welfare officer at UNSW, and I hope you don't take this the wrong way when I say a great number of people don't know that there's a welfare collective.
That's something we're trying to fix this year as well.
Yeah, I don't think that's, if any if at all, your fault, but some of the collectives are just unheard of and probably not resourced properly. How have you seen that in your 6 to 9 months in your role, and how are you planning on changing it?
That's a really great question. I think that I stepped into the role with a very small collective, and I immediately identified that as a key issue I want to fix.
Yeah.
We're actually going to be launching a recruitment drive in the next few weeks, which I have put a lot of thinking and effort behind. So it's very exciting. There's going to be a lot of new roles released for the Welfare Collective. I'm hoping that will draw in a lot of interest given the broad reach and nature of our collective. I think that given that we ran a very highly successful event yesterday as well, there was a lot of really positive traction at that event. So it was a mental health panel with a workshop component as well, in line with Stress Less Week. So that was really positively received. So I think in combination with those sorts of events and delivering something like a recruitment drive, I think it should bring a lot more people into the collective.
And speaking of Stress Less Week, how do you interact with an initiative like that as a collective and as a welfare officer?
I think that, Stress Less Week, from my interactions with it generally, have been, especially in the planning for this event, because I have such a mental health focus, I think that Stress Less Week was a perfect way for us to sort of collaborate, or at least for the timing of my event, to make sure that it was in line with something else that the uni was running. And that kind of set a really good precedent for the event. And my interactions with the Welfare Collective in that sense, in order to drive those mental health focused initiatives that I've been pushing for this year.
And so how did they come about in the context of Stress Last Week? Did you approach ARC? Did ARC approach you?
Not really. I mean, I was just kind of set on running this welfare event for the purposes of my collective. It's something I'd envisioned from the beginning of the year as wanting to have an event that was like quite large scale. And for context on this, I've been an events director at a previous society. I was also co-president last year. So my expertise is in running those sorts of large scale events. So I think that bringing in that knowledge background really, really helped drive like the actual value add to students from something like this that we could directly deliver to them. And I was really, really proud to bring in a lot of my personal contacts to the panel, and students found this like incredibly rewarding. They were able to actually connect on a one-on-one level with those people and talk about like mental health initiatives. We also talked about burnout, academic stress, and managing those sorts of mental health concerns.
So what contacts were those, and what did they deliver?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So we had Michael, who is the SRC president this year.
Yeah.
I also brought on Tony Lee, who's the postgrad president. We also had Cindy Bremer. She's from the Psych and Wellness team at UNSW. And the last contact is Kylie Lim. She's a personal industry connection of mine who is really, really passionate about gender initiatives at her company. And she's leading a lot of, like especially focused on like women and empowering women. And I've personally been really blessed to be like mentored by her. So a lot of these connections are people that I thought would be able to give different perspectives on mental health. So like Michael is really, really passionate about disabilities. He was the ex-disabilities officer as well. And then we had Cindy Bremer. She literally works with the Psych and Wellness team on a daily basis and sees a lot of those mental health crises. And Kylie has a big focus on like the industry perspective on mental health. And then Tony was really, really good in terms of providing like an academic and industry perspective as well. So I think from your question, like having a broad perspective of those contacts in my personal network was really, really awesome to see them come together and give different perspectives on mental health.
And so what do students get out of that?
Well, I had some really positive reviews from the event. Someone called it like the Avengers of mental health, which I thought was quite funny. And a lot of those, so in the panel section, students had an opportunity to ask like questions from the panelist. and we had preset questions that we asked as well that we thought would be beneficial. But we especially had questions tailored to what students had inputted to us prior to the event. And we essentially just tailored those topics around what students wanted to see. So that was really positive. In the workshop section, we had a lot of those panelists deliver workshops that they themselves had prepared. And one of them was like a well-being and stress less focused, how to manage stress and let that out in a sort of physical movements type exercise. And also one on academics and one on the disability perspective of mental health as well. So they were really positively received by students who went to those.
So you're not just providing services for students themselves, you're also pushing the university to make some more core changes. A couple of weeks ago, you passed some motions through the SRC to essentially pass the same motions through ARC. Tell us more about those and how they came about.
Yeah, cool. So one of the motions that we passed was called SRC urges UNSW to take immediate action against the rising cost of living crisis. I think this was particularly relevant given the increasing cost of living crisis that a lot of students are facing. I personally know that a lot of my friends are struggling, and I've been struggling as well. Like, we feel the pinch of those increasing inflation prices. And in particular, in this motion, I think one of the key focuses we had was promoting the Student Supports Grants Program, offering not-for-profit accommodation. We know that a lot of the on-campus accommodation is still below market rate, but we're encouraging the uni to try and have not-for-profit accommodation completely. So that would be really, really helpful, I think, for a lot of students. And obviously, we also want UNSW to push for rent subsidies for students in need, partner with off-campus housing initiatives to secure discounted rates, and also provide package access to food. So I was kind of thinking that bulk food packages would be like definitely a more affordable way for students to have like a consistent food source
it's like food
on
hub.
Campus. Yeah. So Food Hub's a good example. And maybe like partnerships with the colleges. So that was kind of an idea that I had as well. So yeah, we really want to push for some of those more tangible outcomes for students to see, like reliefs to the cost of living crisis. Another key thing we wanted to do was, and this has been something I've been pushing for from the beginning as well, has been increased funding to the mental health services. That's something that the Psych and Wellness team has been really focused on, I think, as well.
What do you think has stopped the university, and ARC, who we'll talk about in a moment, what do you think has stopped them from investing so much in mental health services and in cost of living aid so far?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, it's a little outside of my area, to be honest.
Well, you do have a clear focus on this as welfare officer.
Yeah, of course I do. But in terms of the actual funding avenues, that's something that I personally don't have too much of like a... it doesn't really fall under like my focus area. My focus area is more about like clarifying what the needs of students are, and when students come to me with particular needs, for me to actually, prioritize those needs and present those to the university.
Well, it sounds like you have a pretty clear idea now of what those needs are. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely heard some common threads from students which have come out in these motions, for example. And
so now that you've gathered that information and that data, what do you think the university needs to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really good question. I mean, we've kind of outlined it here. There are some clear like steps and actionables for the uni to focus on. And those motions that we have written, or like, I think in the prioritization of a lot of these actions, they've been like, I've deliberated over them. I think that it's clear that, mental health, for example, is like a super important and big need for students across campus. So that's definitely something that I'll be personally. So
you've called on the uni to promote the Student Support Grants Program, offer rental subsidies for students, and partner with off-campus housing initiatives, and simply to increase funding to mental health services, which you seem to have left intentionally vague. How do you think the university, I should say, will respond to that?
I think that. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great question. I think that given that there have been there has been progress in the mental health space in terms of I was talking to the mental health officer who was not officer psych and wellness team, and they were talking about how they have a new support who can help diagnose ADHD and things like that. And I think that was not a direct part of the team, but sort of like a sub part of their team. So things like that, I think that like the uni definitely is aware of the changes that need to come about. It'll be a matter of just like implementing what we've said here.
So UNSW's mental health service used to offer ADHD diagnoses and testing. They don't anymore, which was met with some protest a few years ago. You've also called on ARC to initiate financial literacy programs and one-on-one financial counselling with ARC members. ARC to also promote mental health programs and focus on stress management, mindfulness and resilience building. So this is past the SRC. So you've called for this, then your fellow students have backed you. What happens now?
So those are really, really good initiatives. I believe that there will be a push for financial counselling, for example. There are definitely initiatives that are, coming about as a result of the progress that we're pushing for. So I'm really happy to see that that those needs have been heard and are being taken seriously.
So
just a question about you're urging the university to take immediate actions. Like, what are the steps that you and the SSC and stuff have to take afterwards to actually try to get them to implement these changes? At least, like, are you meeting with chancellors and stuff like that, or is it just more, this is what the SRC's stance on this motion, on these topics are, and this is what we'd like you to do? How does that kind of work?
I guess, like, from my capacity, I think that, passing the motions, first of all, is a way for the SRC to show that they support those initiatives, right? I think that that's really core. I think for the second part of the question, all of those relationship building elements are really important. I feel like, me personally, the way that I operate is, like, I will build relationships, like, in order for the event to take off. Yesterday, for example, like, I had to go and do the due diligence of, like, making sure that I connected with the right people, made sure that I made those connections, found, like, the right panelists or the right event organizers to help me out. And those sorts of personal connections are the way that I think we can bring about that real tangible difference.
have you spoken to Oscar Iredale?
No.
The chair of the ARC board?
No. How is this relevant to
because
welfare?
Well, because you've passed motions through the SRC that now have to be passed through ARC. I was wondering if you had any idea of what the ARC board thinks of these initiatives and whether or not you think it'll
I actually have
approved.
I don't know too much about the ARC board. That's not really, like...
You're aware that this stuff, if you want it to actually happen, it has to go through the ARC board, right?
Sure.
So you've spoken about building those relationships. I assume you're going to start building those relationships with ARC now.
If it's relevant, yeah, but I don't see how. I don't really.
It's relevant because they have to sign off on this.
Sure, but that's a little bit separate to my current progress. So like that might I can't really say about the future, but for the current progress. I've just been focused on the core tangible impact that I can deliver. Those ARC relationships I can't really talk about. I don't really know too much about the specifics or dynamics or anything. So yeah, I've just kind of focused on my role in the welfare space and what I can deliver to students directly. And I think that I've had a positive impact in that regard.
Well, I guess my point is all the good things you're trying to put into place, the ARC board can kind of just push it all away and make none of it happen if that's their will. How do you intend to work with them to convince them that these things are the things that are needed? Yeah,
I mean, I guess, like, if the ARC board thinks that they are good motions, the ARC board will decide on that, right?
Yeah. You've also put forward, and this was also passed, you've called on ARC quite directly to support the federal government's welfare support for students on placements. Now, obviously, if you've seen in the news the federal government's new payment for nursing students on placement, I believe some others as well, but not all. Critics of that initiative, both in federal politics and in the SRC, have called it, I believe the words were chump change or crumbs or something like that. Some people definitely claim that the new placement payments aren't enough, but you've called on them to support. You've called on ARC to support this. You've also called on ARC to support the Union's New South Wales campaign for Fair Work legislation reform to secure paid placement for all students who require placement to complete their degree, and basically support those federal government initiatives for students on placement. Can you tell me about why that matters to you?
Yeah, I mean, I am an engineering student. I think that it's difficult because in our industry, there are a lot of companies that will have unpaid placements that are termed like internships and things like that. They're usually called unpaid internships. And I think that there's definitely a gap there that should be addressed, and like those internships should be paid. They're still offering and delivering a service to the company. And regardless, yeah, those students that are doing that work deserve to be paid. In this motion, I think I specifically did include a line on including calls to future improvements for the legislation to include anyone that's omitted from the current specifics of that. And I think that was very deliberately put in by myself to just capture anyone that's missed by the existing legislation. So, that was intentionally put in there.
And again, you have 4 separate points to this initiative, which has also passed, and all of them are saying we want ARC to do something. What happens if ARC says they don't want to do it? Then
I mean, that's definitely that's something that we would address in future. I think that in terms of ARC's decision on that, like, that would be a call that they would make, and then depending on the outcome, like, obviously I would address that in the future. I think that that's what I can that's it, that's what I can say there.
Okay, and is to wrap up, because I know we're short on time, is there anything else you would want people to know about the Welfare Collective?
Yes.
You're excited about that one?
I am very excited. I do have a lot of updates. So essentially the Welfare Collective is, first of all, pushing this event stream, but we also have that recruitment stream happening. We have been pushing for campaigns and advocacy such as the Change the Age campaign, which is lowering the age of independence to an age where, obviously students come here and they're not 22, so we want to lower the age to a relevant age where people actually need that money. We've also built a research survey which we want to distribute in the next few weeks, and that'll include topics from welfare to cost of living and academic stress and pressure, which we hope that a lot of students will fill out, because that'll give us a lot more context on lengthening, the future of the Welfare Collective as well, in terms of like what we can deliver next year, which I'm really excited for. And then there should also be a cheapskates guide, which was something we had a few years back, which I would love to bring back. It was a guide that sort of summarized like all the cheap spots to eat on campus and like stationary hub and things like that. So a nice sort of summary of like free services. The other thing that I'm working on is a national welfare drive. So this is bringing together across states and territories in Australia different welfare resources from various universities. So I'm hoping to build a drive that we can have a lead on in terms of what other unis are doing and how we can learn from other unis and their welfare collectives.
And to finish off, if you don't mind me asking, what's your experience with the cost of living crisis?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really great question. I think that I'm not going to go into like my personal circumstances, if that's okay. I feel like that's more of like an invasive question, but I think that I've seen a lot of the impact of the cost of living crisis across all student demographics. I think it's really impacting people. The greatest experience I have with it is from a mental health perspective, and I've seen, like, I've personally dealt with some very serious cases of like mental health crisis, And I've recently been trained in mental health first aid to help people process a lot of the actual stress and consequences of this. I've personally felt the stress and consequences of the cost of living crisis as well from a mental health perspective. I think it's very damaging to students. I hope we can fix that.
Yeah, I've always liked to be open with myself, and I know not everyone's like this, but I've been through poverty. I've been homeless. You mentioned the age of independence. I've been on youth allowance payments since I was
Super
17.
important.
So I always like to be open about my experience. Are you working on platforms to do the same, for people to do the same?
I always encourage people to be open and honest if they feel comfortable. I think that, it's really tough to hear that you've been through those experiences. I don't think anyone should have to. And yeah, I'm glad that you've had that support where you've needed it. I think that's really, really important. And I hope that we can keep delivering, honestly, hope we can keep delivering those services to help.
And I guess my question is, what do you think among your initiatives are most drawn from your own personal experience?
I would definitely say the mental health focus, yeah. I think those crises that I've personally interacted with have been really, really tough. I also think that seeing the consequences of that on people and realising that there's a real consequence in people's lives is really, really difficult. And it's kind of important to protect not only your own mental health when you're in those situations, but also making sure that you direct people to the right services, particularly on campus, like the free counselling that we provide.
Well, thank you for joining us, Annikka.
Thank you so much
been a
for
great
having
chat.
me.
Welcome back to Silly Hour. Dia and Mia are back once again.
Hey.
As every week. I have resigned to decide that I am never going to pick the topics for this segment. It's always going to be you, and I'm just going to feed off.
We almost always pick the topics very, very, very close to the deadline of when Silly Hour is recorded.
It's part of the charm.
Well, I think so as well. The thing is, we do technically have a note of anything that we're like, oh, we should talk about this. We did go through it today and decide one from that note, but we did do it literally half an hour ago.
You two never run out of shit to talk about.
Well, that's
so
the thing.
We're never
so I
worried
feel
about
like we're always going to have a thing to talk about. We just had a little catch up, little chat before this anyway.
So what was your whimsical little thing today?
We went on a little treat walk, well, a lunch walk really, to Village Cafe. We had a yap talk.
Yes, but our topic for Silly Hour, our whimsical little topic, is
Oh, you meant that?
Yeah. What did you think I was referring to?
I thought you were talking about what did you do? What was your little
how
moment
was your
today?
yeah?
I wasn't making.
Your,
You think I was making small talk? We are on the clock.
Oh Jesus!
Today's podcast
We're
waits for
never
no
on
one.
the clock at Silly Hour, folks.
Okay, well, our topic of today is what was the incident at your high school? Because I have one where it is the incident. You can my friend describes our high school as this pre this incident, during this incident, and post this incident.
That's crazy.
Defined eras of our high school.
This is the thing. My high school was a little bit boring, just in the way that it was prissy Catholic girls, a lot of them, and so there wasn't a lot. But there is one particular thing that happened after we left that did really stand out to me.
I'm the same as Mia, and I'm jealous of Dia.
Yeah,
I
I understand that.
Do you want to start with yours?
Sure. Mine's not super duper interesting, but it's just a funny tidbit. So I'm not going to use real names for this. We're going to give her a new name.
Good idea.
Let's call her
Francesca.
Sure. Imagine if that was her real name. Okay, so
Dia was ready.
this fake person's name is Francesca. Francesca started with us in year 7. She was in my house. I knew her quite well. I didn't like her at all. She was a massive bitch. She then left the school in about year 10. After we'd graduated, probably it was literally January the year after we graduated. Graduated. Sorry.
Congratulations.
I can't speak. I got my general, when you sign up to a newspaper and you get the rundown.
I'm very familiar, yes.
Yeah. So I got my little rundown and I open it and guess whose name is there? It's motherfucking Francesca on my news feed.
Why?
I open it, of course. I open it.
Duh.
So her mother was a very well-known journalist. This is going to expose exactly who this is, but it's literally all over the internet. She got in very bad legal trouble for destroying some property. By that I mean a skirting board at her mother's house. Her mother then decided to press charges against her.
Wait. Her mother pressed charges against her own daughter.
Yes. And also got a restraining order against Francesca.
What?
Yeah.
So her mom got a restraining order against her own daughter.
For literally destruction of property, but it was a skirting board.
So she just didn't like her.
And it was all over the media because her mum's quite well known.
I changed my mind. I'm jealous of Mia as well. I wanted
Why?
to.
It was not that interesting at all, and also she'd left years before.
It is.
But I know nothing else. There's photos all over the internet of her walking out of the courtroom in sweatpants with an iced chocolate in her hand, and I kind of fuck with that.
Oh, that's so me. Oh, this is where I see myself.
I mean, if my mother sued me, I would too.
Yeah, I will just also say she was not a nice person. Not that she deserves what
Sounds like
happened
her
to her.
mother wasn't either.
No, not that she deserves what happened to her, but I think she's been through quite a bit with her family.
What do you have to gain from getting a restraining order from your
I have
own
no
daughter?
idea. And it's weird because I always thought that they were actually quite close.
And this is in year 7?
No. So this happened
after.
just after we graduated, but I didn't see her. She left the school in around year 10.
So you've told the story to Dia
No.
already?
No.
This is my first time hearing it, yeah.
Okay.
I was just paying attention.
Okay, I see how it is.
Anyway, that's my story. Any thoughts, you guys?
That's a lot more wild than
I'll show you
let
guys
on.
the news article
Oh,
afterwards.
okay, mine is wild, so strap in, folks.
Yeah, I feel like that's not wild.
Yeah.
This is really perplexed here.
We're gonna
do you
end on
want
that.
to leave the wildest till last, or should we do?
I was gonna say,
Should we do a wild
I'll just do a little.
Yeah.
I'll just do a little rundown of my comparison.
Yeah, no, you do yours, and then we'll end it with my
school.
really wild one.
There was some shit. Mostly just like we went. It was a public school, and there was some
What school did you go
degenerates.
to? Or you can tell us later.
I went to Gaimia Technology High School.
Oh, you told me that. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, me neither.
Neither do I. Neither does anyone outside of the show.
By the way, for my last story, shout out Vinny's. You were a time.
Vinny's.
St. Vincent's.
Oh right. Thought you meant like op shop.
Not,
I was
not
like,
the option, but same guy.
I was like, what does that have
continue,
to do?
continue.
We just had a couple of like minor-ish things. Like,
What does that mean to you?
so there was a footy game at the school, and someone pulled a knife at the footy game,
What the
and
fuck?
the entire school went into
This is
lockdown.
so guy mean.
That's fair. That's an okay
You don't know
one.
what a Gaimia
I
is.
I know where Gaimia is, but I don't.
Do
know
you
what
though?
Yes, but I don't know I don't live on the same line. But I don't know what the fuck Gaimia Technology High School is.
It's like they have good technology that we weren't allowed to use most of the time.
Okay, what's the other? Yeah, what's the other stuff?
So yeah, there was the footy game. I think there was just some biff in the footy, and
It was always about the footy, wasn't it? With you?
we're recording this after Origin, so like that was the first.
Alex
thing
is
that
a
came to
very
my
big
mind.
football enjoyer, by the way.
Yes, I very much am. It's a ask me about the Rabbitohs anytime. The other one, I remember there was I think it was like a gastro outbreak, or not gastro, or some sort of bug at the pass camp. You guys have pass, the subject?
No.
I don't.
Oh yeah.
I forget what it stands for, but it's like
It's like sports science.
sports science. Yeah,
Oh.
it's like better PE.
We didn't have that.
But
in
that was an
Victoria.
elective specifically.
Yeah, it was a year 10 elective, and there was a camp for it, and everyone on the camp got like this bug, and they were all vomiting on the bus. Like,
Shame.
That's
all of
fun.
them.
I do like that story.
Like, it was. I wasn't there, but it must have been a nightmare.
Yeah.
Probably.
Like an absolute. And there was this one guy who who left the school in like year 8, and we sort of assumed died on the streets.
Okay.
And then it turns out he's working as a tiler now, so he's
nice.
picked
Good
himself
on.
up.
Good for him.
He was.
Bless you, Alex Neil.
Ugh.
That's probably not going to be kept in.
Sneeze randomly came in there. All right, I'm just
Okay.
gonna.
Do what now?
My story time?
Yes.
Is that the story?
Yeah, that's basically that's all I can.
Just,
really
like, little
remember.
things that
We were pretty
Yeah.
good.
My mine is a story. A lot of mine things happen, but this is what
Let's go, dear.
happened. Okay, so we, I think the story starts with an email, but this could have been a physical note. There's physical notes in the story, which is why this could be one or the other. We basically get something which is like, hey guys, the bathroom's a mess. Make sure you're like flushing and like all that kind of stuff. We get told that. And then, you know.
Did you go to an all-girls school?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
And then everyone was just like, whatever, you know, it's a thing. We get like admin emails. And then we come. So, okay, my school was 2 big buildings. And in between them was what we called the overpass, which is this giant glass tunnel where like you would walk through that joined the 2 buildings on the second floor. And because of that, you know, they would decorate it for SRC weeks or like NAIDOC week or like, you know, Teacher Appreciation Day or whatever. And we come to the overpass. It's mostly empty except for just one note at the end, which is like, hi, I am a student at the high school, and I have decided to shit on the floor of the bathroom as a symbolic protest for how shit the teaching is. Specifically, this specific teacher has not, names the teacher. Oh. Yeah, this specific teacher has ruined my education. He is a piece of shit, so I've left him a piece of shit.
You know what? Respect.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. If the teacher really was that bad, like, if the school really was that negligent, which some are, I mean...
But here's where it gets fun.
Do you agree?
I'd never had the teacher.
Okay.
Did you see that, like, the French are protesting by shitting in the sun?
Yes, yeah. It's very similar to that. That's why when this came out, everyone from my high school was like, guys, she's back.
Can we give the teacher... Can we make the teacher's fake name Emmanuel Macron?
Sure. But then here's where it gets fun. One of the year 10 students at the time was like, I want to go into journalism, which is a, desirable trait. So she leaked the story to the press.
Nah.
This is so noise core.
Where she was like, hey, our teaching's so bad that a student has decided to protest by shitting on the floor.
That's so aspiring teenager.
And it was like
I kinda love that.
it was like front page news for a while, where it's like, this elite Melbourne girls high school,
Oh my god, we had the same thing happen to us about COVID. One of the girls in my school was one of the first school children in Sydney to get COVID, and all over the press was like elite private girls school. Yeah. I was like, this is not in any way, shape, or form a particularly elite high school. I'll tell you that much, considering our caliber of students.
Mine was a big name to the point where I know multiple people who said, I'm not sure if I want to send my child to the school. I'm not sure I want to apply to the school anymore, because if they Google the school, they're just going to find the thing about shitting on the floor.
Yeah,
so then we had a big meeting of all the year 9s at the time.
Did they know that it was like a
No, it was like a year 11 student, because they said my HSC, my VCE studies.
Okay.
But they had a big meeting about us, about how this was unacceptable, and how, the teachers really care for you, and advice from the school on what to do if you have an issue. Literally, he was still teaching there by the time I was in year 12. Keeping in mind, this happened when I was in year 9.
I feel like you got a lot of shit.
Elite private schools.
Shit, no pun intended.
He was still there when I was in year 12.
I mean, this sounds like not nearly as bad as what happened at Cranbrook, and that they're all still there.
What was that? I'm not from Sydney,
I have
so
a
don't
Four
know
Corners
this.
episode to show you.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Finish the story.
But yeah, that happened, and then here's where it gets good. By good, I mean not actually. This is just so boring. This is how I viscerally remember it. Okay. So then the week after that, we had Teacher Appreciation Week as a PR campaign to cover up what happened the week before.
Oh my god.
And to this day, I think they still run Teacher Appreciation Week on the same week every year, which is
it's actually just the anniversary.
Yeah, exactly. I think the current generation of students at my school does not know that that's why we have Teacher Appreciation Week, because it was
that's such a good
right. Oh my god, another noise episode. I'm going to talk about the origin story of my high school, because that's a separate thing, how my school was founded, because that's also a story.
Catholic nuns in the 1800s.
But where I'm going with this is...
This will not be a very interesting episode.
Back to the floor shitter. So they had Teacher Appreciation Week the week after, and it was how do your teachers support your education or something like that. And my friend in year 9 thought it was really, really funny to write get better teachers, because of the shitting thing. And then, she just went on about it, and no one to this day knew it was her, because then we had a whole assembly being
Was it her?
No, my friend in year 9 thought it'd be really funny to write this. And we had this whole assembly about how the shitter has stopped shitting, and now they're writing snarky notes on the overpass. And it was just my friend
That
in
is
year
the
9.
worst thing you could do to try to stop it from happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so because of that, now my friend describes my school as pre-floor shitter like during floor shitter and post floor shitter. And my generation is the only generation to be in the pre-COVID, during COVID and post-COVID, and the pre-floor shitter. No, like mine was the only group to be at McRob during, censoring my school or whatever, but I don't care. Mine was the only generation that was there to experience the floor shitting because we were in year 9 and COVID, which happened when we were in year 12. So we got hit with both, major events.
Fair.
I honestly low-key respect the floor shitter.
Yeah,
No,
you
I
would.
really like
It's
that.
very Alex Nealcore to be floor shitting.
Don't know how I feel about that.
Alex Neal is not the floor shitter. Alex Neal is the one that leaked it to the press.
Yeah, you're the
Yeah.
Shout out to the girl who I will not name, but I still remember your name to this day. Like, I'm like, there's the girl that leaked the story to the press because everyone called her a clout chaser. They're like, wow, she's such a clout chaser for leaking the
That's
story.
So funny.
Did
This was a great story.
Did they actually find out who the floor shitter was?
No, to this day. Oh my god, this is a minor thing. I'm gonna talk about this very briefly, but okay, I went to a school called McRob, and we had another incident so that was like my big year 9 incident. My big year 10 incident is we had somebody that kept on stealing people's shit out of their bags and out of their like changing room stuff, and like a chronic collector to the point where it meant,
Wrong time to use the word people's shit.
I was gonna say.
I was like, they've got what in their bags?
No, okay. So they were taking people's things and stealing them and whatever, to the point where people's AirPods would go missing. And they would know that they were at school somewhere because when they were at school and when they were at the train station, they would, like, their AirPods would be in proximity to them at the end of the day. But, like, somebody just had them from our school and was bringing it with them. But, yeah, I went to school called McRob, so we called this person the McRobber. And we would get clickbait emails from like clubs being like, McRobber unmasked, find out tomorrow at drama club.
The new range from Macca's.
Yeah. Shout out to the
Sounds
McRobber.
like a riot, actually.
Yeah, I kind of loved my high school. It's kind of really fun.
I see. You're starting to make more sense.
All of the other incidents at my high school, most of them were either like not interesting enough or straight up traumatic. Like there's no in between, Like that, yours is the perfect amount of like dramatic but funny but not too serious.
Yeah, mine is like no one died, no like major accidents happened.
Yeah.
We did get robbed on a completely separate. I have so many stories in my time at high school. It was wild.
My primary school got robbed big time.
We got broken and entered into like on a fucking weekend.
What?
Yeah, my high school got broken and entered into on a weekend.
Yeah, someone once stole knives from the food tech kitchen.
That's wild. That's a wild one.
And, well, there was nothing really more to the story. No one even knew what happened to them or who stole it. It was just one day knives disappeared, and so then we had to like sign off every time we used a knife for food.
That's so
we had to sign a sheet and give the knife back and sign back off.
That's so murder visual novel. Where it's like, how many knives are in the kitchen today? And then like, oh no, a murder has happened. And then you have to count all the knives in the visual novel. I played Danganronpa, guys.
We'll end the segment there.
Yes, we will.
Happy silly hour, everyone.
Thanks so much for joining us.
We love you.
All right, some big news coming out of ARC, and one that we probably weren't supposed to know about, I dare say. I'm asking noise contributors and club executives, Luke and Ren, who are joining me today. My understanding is the news we're about to talk about, you were told not to share it with anyone. Is that correct?
Yeah, so this was something we've known about for a couple of weeks now. We attended a club's town hall a couple of weeks ago discussing... someone from ARC has just come back and said, this is going to be released tomorrow as of time of recording. Please do not share it.
To the ARC board, is that correct?
No. This is to everyone. I believe it would, at this point, we are assuming that it would have already passed ARC board because they wouldn't be... Because they wouldn't be telling people publicly, this is how we're going to change, this is what you need to do change-wise, if this hasn't already passed.
Yeah, right. So for context, we're recording this Thursday, the 18th of July, at a time where, as I said, you guys told me that you were told that this was like private club exec information, which they've then put on the ARC website, seemingly by accident.
Silly doing that. Please have a read and don't share yet. But one, the link is live. Second, you can access the link fairly easily, I dare say.
And it's
just
not
navigating
even-
through their website.
Yeah, not even that. You'd very easily be able to run into this stuff. It's not even, you wouldn't have to even be looking for it. You could just go, oh, my club needs to do reaffiliation soon, let's have a look. Oh, wait, wow, there's a document, it's big red text, click here to find out the new changes. Like,
We'll get to those changes in a second, but like anyone who knows me knows how much I love talking about secret ARC stuff. You guys have kind of mentioned this on the grapevine for a little bit, and I've wanted to talk about it for a little while, and I've been itching to, but it wasn't public information, so we kind of had to respect that for a little while. But now the cat's out of the bag because it's somehow been published to the ARC website, and anyone can look at it. So we're looking at it, we're talking about it. What's the most? Let's start with the most significant thing you guys have seen from your changes, because you guys know a lot more about this than I do.
There's several big changes, mainly admin stuff, but they are significant and will potentially be quite have fairly big ramifications for some, if not a good portion of clubs. They mainly relate to one of three things: changes to general meetings, and the introduction of a returning officer for electing execs, and introducing new and combined roles for the executive. So the major changes are broadly in one of those three categories.
Yeah, so there is a lot of like boring administrative stuff that they've lapped into this. So like something to do with tax law. Like there's a new statement that constitutions have to say to comply with a change to tax law or something.
This isn't an ARC change. This is a tax office change.
Yeah.
Whereby, and I will have to check this afterwards, you cannot just say that so not-for-profit organisations are income tax exempt. In 2021, I believe, the federal government stated if you say that you're a not-for-profit thing and you aren't on the Australian Charities Register, which is a separate thing, it's no longer assumed that you automatically are exempt for income tax. You need to send a form in to the tax office saying that you are exempt.
Yeah, so all it really means in this context for club execs and clubs is that you just have to put
it's just one bit of extra
you have to
paperwork.
change the wordings of various statements in your regulations and constitutions, and ARC does take you through how to do that. But there are some more significant changes that I do want to get into. You mentioned at first there are changes to the way general meetings are structured. Is that annual general meetings, or is it just all meetings?
That is all general meetings. So the main change to general meetings as a whole is the change of what counts to meet quorum. So to hold your meeting, you obviously need to make quorum.
Quorum for those who don't know is like the minimum number of people you need to vote for the vote to count.
So there are now like two categories a club can fall into. If the club is newer than 18 months old, or if it has less than 70 members, I believe, it now you now only need 10 members or half of your membership in attendance. But for the rest of clubs, you now just as before, you need 15 members to meet quorum. However, they've now changed it so that club executives do not count towards quorum.
Yeah, so you used to need at least 15 people in a society to cast a vote to make a change in the society.
Yeah, so beforehand it was 15 members or half of your club, whichever was the smaller.
Whichever was lower. And now it's only 10 people if you're a smaller society.
For small clubs or new clubs.
And in all societies, execs don't count towards those. So you need
current execs don't.
Current execs don't. So you need 15 rank and file members of the society to cast a vote if you want to make a change. I actually think that's quite promising. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but that's probably pretty good. It's gonna work against the clubs that are insular and hard to crack into the executive of.
In a sense, yes, but just from the two execs we've previously part of, so Ren and I are both part of Queer Students in STEM, and I've also last year part of Wondersock, and also attended a few other general meetings for various other clubs.
Yeah.
every single one I've attended, which has been a good half dozen at least, we've struggled to meet quorum. We've had to sometimes delay the general meeting by sometimes like up to half an hour. Sometimes,
and QSIS
and just begging people on the forms to just please join the meeting. We have 13 people. We just need 2 more of you to join.
For what it's worth, ARC has had that problem at their own EGMs. If that's any consolation, and they need 50 people out of 27,000 to be fair. But QSIS and WonderSock would both be considered small societies under these regulations.
WonderSock, I'd say moderate. So
is there a moderate category? Is there?
Clubs, technically, there is a separate structure within more to do with grants where clubs are split between bronze, silver, and gold levels. This policy doesn't necessarily correlate with those. In terms of membership, QSIS is absolutely considered QSIS is currently a gold level club, meaning that we already have like a large number of people. I think we have about 300
maybe,
wow.
maybe closer to 4 yet. But at any given event, we'll only get about a dozen at most.
It's interesting. So to give you an idea, most quorums in non-UNSW organisations are a simple majority. So you need more than half the people of your organisation to cast a vote to meet quorum. In art clubs, it's only 15 people out of 300 in the case of QSIS. So instead of a 50% turnout, you only need, what is that? Freaking 5% to fundamentally change a society constituted. It's actually kind of worrying for me.
Even then, like when we were discussing this with the other club execs during the town hall, they also many of them also brought up their concerns about in their club, it's really hard to get people to attend these things.
Yeah.
Why is that? Why is engagement so low?
It's often because it's just difficult to get a large number of people all together in a room at the same time, is the short answer of it.
But is 15 really a large number when you've got 300 people to choose from?
It's in theory, so we have 300 members in theory. However many of those are considered active, I consider about 30 odd. Yeah. And then again, at any given event, I think the most we've had come to an event is about 20. Sometimes
not including ball.
Not including ball, but it's a lot less.
Are you talking about QSIS here? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even for WonderSock, which generally does have a fairly large turnout, they generally have at least 20, 30 people at each event. They still struggle to meet it on both times. Not all 3 general meetings I've attended.
Yeah, that's.
So
really...
the reasoning for this was that for some of the larger, mainly the larger constituent clubs, where they do have more than 15 exec members, you can pretty much just do an internal thing and push changes through without any wider consultation.
So this is the scary thing for me, that think about an organisation like ADA-SOC or BSOC or the other faculty societies, CSE-SOC, who have thousands of members or more. And even then, they only need 15 people to go to a meeting and say, we want to fundamentally change the way this society operates. We want to oust the leadership of the society, and you technically only need 15 out of a couple of thousand in some of these big organisations to make that happen.
Yeah, so a lot of the changes that have started in general seem to have been making it targeting these larger, mainly constituent clubs, which is a good thing, but they're a lot of the smaller to medium-sized clubs are going to have issues, which I did raise at the time, but just don't seem to have taken any of this on board.
And what are those changes that they've made to target big constituent clubs? Constituent clubs, for those who don't know, being faculty clubs.
Yeah,
right?
so there's several things. Like there's anything course or stream-related things, like the Maths Society, Arts Society, Computer Science. Some other ones as well, like
shout out to English and Creative Writing Society.
Generally as well, each residential college will also have their own.
That's true. Colleges have their own clubs. Yeah,
have their own clubs. They're counted constituents for these purposes.
And so what? And so what are they you said they were ARC was targeting those big clubs. What are they targeting, and what are the changes?
Well, part of that was the introducing requirements that removes exec from the quorum requirement. So you have to, as you said, you have to get 15 rank and file members of the club to attend.
So they're trying to stop a small exec from controlling a larger group of people.
Yeah, but even those other AGMs I've mentioned, even with 5, maybe 6 of the current or previous exec presidents, we've still struggled to meet it. It does seem like that they're trying to put it into a one-size-fits-all approach, which, given that you have some societies with a dozen, maybe 20 people, and others with thousands, it doesn't really work.
It sounds like there's just an epidemic level of low engagement across all societies.
I wouldn't necessarily say that in general. It's just getting people to engage with these specific events is hard.
So to use QCS as an example again, is QCS getting better turnouts at more fun events, quote unquote?
It really depends on when we hold it, to be honest. So we hold a weekly, for example, we hold a weekly thing. Last term, we had regular engagements of like 15 plus people. This term, we only have about 6, maybe 7 regular people showing up, simply because, for whatever reason, the lack of the timetable, basically, not as many people are available at the time we can hold it.
That's still just such a small percentage of people that are actually engaging with campus life, basically. Speaking of elections, they've also changed the way elections are run, in that clubs are now able to appoint returning officers to their own elections.
Yes, returning officers are now required for elections. They don't have to be former exec. They can just be anyone that's deemed impartial. And this can be anyone can complain about.
Who deems partiality? Who decides what is?
I believe
partial?
It's club members, club exec, or ARC.
That narrows it down
So,
to basically
anyone can say that that's not an impartiality.
So how do you decide if someone's partial?
The returning officer, in their own duties, does say that they must ensure that they are at all times impartial, and that must not be determined to have a real or perceived conflict of interest by club members, executive, or by ARC's clubs.
Okay. But still, how do you determine what's impartial and what's partial?
Well, we don't know. I've just got the actual policy open now, just to try and find it.
I am a club's returning officer, and I am making an impartial decision that all the people I don't like are not eligible to run in this election, and all my friends should get like a bonus 50% votes for being cool.
Say that in the thing I've just got up now. There's all executive must do their best to ensure that an impartial returning officer is appointed. But, next point, the returning officer shall be appointed by the executive via a majority vote.
By the executive?
By the executive. Yes. So, in theory, they could just say, if you have a particularly corrupt executive, you could say, no, we don't want you. We're going to cycle through them until we get someone we like.
We just talked about how ARC was trying to stop insular executives from strangleholding control over their societies. How the hell is that going to be in any way fair?
I don't know. I will say, at the moment, having just read that, I don't know, can't think off the top of my head immediately any other better way to phrase that. Maybe a supermajority, possibly. But it is quite concerning when you read that on its own.
Honestly, in my opinion, if you're going to have a returning officer for a club election, the returning officer should not be part of the club at all. It should come from somewhere else.
Yes, in theory, but again, it's just your problem of low engagement with these sorts of things. And in theory, you could get someone from ARC to do it, but they only have so many people to go around with. What is it, like 350 clubs, all trying to do their things most of them within a 4-week period.
ARC have also introduced a number of new required and recommended roles and executive positions in clubs, including what they're calling a welfare officer. Let's begin with that. We've just spoken to a welfare officer. That's UNSW's welfare officer, Annikka Burge. These are going to be welfare officers specifically appointed to individual clubs. Tell me about how that's going to work.
So the idea of the welfare officer is basically a combination role of the previous EDI officer and grievance officer. EDI
Grievance
officers...
officers were mandatory, but EDI was recommended but
Correct.
not mandatory.
So EDI being equity, diversity and inclusion, basically anti-racism officer.
Making sure things are basically making sure things are inclusive for people, making sure that venues are safe and welcoming for people of diverse backgrounds, whether they be disabled, queer, or whatever else. Just that sort of thing. As I said, it wasn't mandatory that well, but it was highly recommended.
And so non-mandatory EDI officers, which Noise's own DSN Gupta was very vocal against, that she wanted it to be mandatory, and a lot of people were calling for that. They've now merged that role with the mandatory grievance officer. This is the person that handles complaints within the club, and they've called it a welfare officer. And the welfare officer is mandatory?
Yes, the welfare officer
Okay.
is mandatory.
So Dia's technically got her wish, kind of.
Yeah.
As much as it is a clunky name.
Yeah. And so before we started recording, you guys expressed to me some concerns about the way the welfare officer was run. Is that correct?
Yes, it's just that the role, it seems slightly watered down and more vague compared
Right.
to the definition of the role that the EDI officer would have had in the past. And just...
In what way? What sections are more vague than others? Than previously?
Just some changes to the way that the responsibilities of the welfare officer are written compared to the way the EDI officer's roles previously were. It's just slightly more vague on what the actual responsibilities are. Just a few differencing in wordings that removes specific examples that a club might be able to be doing, and also adding stuff like referencing training that the officer needs to undertake, but not actually explaining what any of that means. It's a lot more focused, in my opinion, on things like positivity than actually being striving to drive home the point that this officer is to make sure that the club is inclusive.
Well, this is in development at the moment. Is it possible that some of those things there, some of those training modules there in reference to maybe haven't been made yet or will be made by the time?
Yes. So hopefully the training will be good. We can't say that for now.
Because it hasn't been made yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully we will see some positive stuff there. We'll just have to wait and see at this point in time. But yeah, as well as the way that the grievance officer has been combined in here, the grievance officer is also quite an important role in a club. And
what did you say? What did you say was their focus on positivity? I remember you mentioning that earlier today.
yeah, especially even just with the name of welfare, to me that doesn't really convey a specific idea of either being inclusive or being the person to come to when you've got an issue. It's just quite vague, and to me sounds like a HR word, if I could describe it in one way.
I'll also just add, it wasn't the first choice, because they had some other possible options, which were even worse.
It wasn't the first choice.
No, one of the other ones were well-being officer was one they touted, but I said no, we can't have that because we have ARC health and well-being, which is going to a separate thing, which is going to get confused.
Did they
a separate one as well? I can't remember.
What was it?
The other one was a wellness officer.
I was.
And they
I was about to make that as a joke.
No. They said they couldn't be the wellness officer because the wellness
Yeah, we have ARC
warriors
wellness.
exist.
I mean, one thing you cannot deny is that ARC loves their HR words. And you raised these concerns with ARC then, and other
Yes.
people among the club executive community, which I
Yes.
understand is very much a thing.
My main 2 points were, it's a little bit more vague, which is going to not it doesn't necessarily help people who are in this role who do want to do a good job but just don't know where to start. And that the other point was about ARC, the resources that ARC currently has not being great about this. However, I feel like at least what I've heard today sounds like at least the second part will at least be somewhat addressed, that they are trying to make those resources at least a little bit better. So, but we'll just have to wait and see for that as well.
And so when you said these were the resources that were currently provided, as well as the resources that you expect will be provided, you said to ARC, and other people said to ARC, that they're not quite adequate, as you said, and their response was something along the lines of, we want to deal with things positively.
Yeah, so there was kind of two responses I was getting. The bit about positivity was from one of the people. It was more to do with the policy itself. That the welfare officer, the aim of the welfare officer is to increase positivity within the club. I mean, they've really fully written here that one of the roles of the welfare officer is to ensure the club events will not result in poor well-being outcomes. And that to ensure that internal club culture is positive, and to prioritise and foster well-being and balance within the club.
So just to remind you all, this is the person who is going to be handling sexual harassment complaints within societies.
Potentially, yes. Hopefully it won't be needed. But
if sexual harassment occurs within societies,
that's the person that it would immediately go to.
This is the person that receives the report. And their prerogative, as ARC describes it, is to ensure ensure positivity and ensure proper well-being outcomes. Or what was the phrase you used?
Not result in poor well-being outcomes, and will not lead to grievances from club members and or executives.
So there's the positive way of looking at it, and there's the cynical way of looking at it. The positive way is, if you have a nice club atmosphere, people won't do shitty things. The cynical way of looking at it is...
shitty things are going to fucking happen.
Yeah. The cynical way of looking at it is, if you gaslight people into thinking you're a lovely club that can do no wrong, they won't file any grievances for anything that happens.
ARC is trying to prevent... I won't say they're actively trying to prevent grievances from being filed, but they're preempting society drama and trying to quash it before it happens. They're preempting the cliquey bitchiness that some societies, that permeates through some societies, and are trying to whack-a-mole it down before it comes up. But I just can't help but think this is going to make societies so unbelievably unprepared for when serious incidents do happen, which is already something I have a problem with at the ARC level. Obviously, I worked at ARC for 2 years. I watched how they handle serious incidents. I brought up sexual harassment before for a very good reason, because I have seen it happen in ARC spaces, and I've seen how they deal with it, and it is not even close to adequate. And this is a backward step in handling those incidents. I can't help but be worried. Next thing on the list. This is a very extensive list of changes. Something to do with club elections. We've already talked about club elections, but there's more.
Yes. As well as changing the quorum requirements, they've also changed the methods in which the election is prepared and undertaken. So previously, the rule was that you had to send out a notification of an election 7 days prior to the general meeting being held, and then people can just nominate themselves as they please. The new policy is that you now have to send it out notice 14 days in advance, and this is the big one, all people that wish to nominate themselves must put themselves forward to the returning officer 7 days in advance, so they can announce it 7 days beforehand.
As in, the deadline is 7 days before the election to nominate?
Yes.
Right. So you can put your hand up a week before an election and go, "Hi,
yes,
I'd like to."
But no later.
But no later.
No. So, Rand, okay, just for yourself.
No later.
How long ago? How long before our general meeting did you put your hand up?
Yeah, it was probably a couple hours, maybe even minutes.
Right.
I've had this as well with when So this is at an AGM, not an AGM. So it was outside of the regular election season. I put my hand up. It was a fair few days after the nomination form said it had closed. I thought, I'll just fill it in anyways. And I went to the AGM, which is only a couple of days later, mind. And I went, okay, you're the only nominee. And
Right.
this is for a fairly major role. So it was, that was surprising. Just, for that, I can see a lot of clubs having difficulty with that requirement of needing to have all nominees point themselves forward 7 days beforehand.
So that's actually more restrictive, is what you're saying?
Yes, it's more
because
restrictive.
I figure that it would. I figure that even 7 days isn't enough. I'm probably more used to SRC elections than club elections, if I'm honest. But like having 7 days to convince people that they should vote for you, it doesn't sound like a lot of time. You did it in a couple of hours in a smaller club,
Yeah.
or at least in a club with low turnout. But in a big club, 7 days doesn't sound like a lot of campaigning.
Well, it is. It's going back to the point of they're trying to fix the issues that that apply to the big clubs, but aren't thinking about how it affects the small to medium-sized clubs.
Yeah.
So again, if you do have a large executive with say 10, 15 positions, with essentially hundreds of members showing up to your EGM, that they're highly sought after. If you 4 to 5 people going for each role, then yes, that would seem fair. But if for one of the smaller ones, where for most of the positions you may only have one person putting themselves forward, it is going to be a bit of a struggle for them.
Because there are a lot of societies where you have to not only convince people to join, but convince people to like run for their executive. Because they're so small that basically everyone needs to do something.
Especially for some of the quote unquote less substantial roles. So like generally you'll get at least one person going for presidents, events, marketing, and treasurer. Some of the lesser ones like ARC delegates, you can struggle to find it. EDI, for those that did have it, has also been struggled to put themselves forward. Any other ones? Can't remember.
I'm sure there's plenty, but it is a bit like this is a mixed one, and something I've found looking through these new rules is they're very consistently quite vague and quite subjective.
And part of that is because the clubs who need EDI officers the most aren't going to be the ones who are going to put in more specific things about what their welfare officer needs to do. Similar here, that's part of why some of the things are so vague. It's that clubs can do a bit more customization, I guess. But with the rules around elections, they were a lot more vague in the last version of the policy.
So
and
they
they've
have
been added, there are more specific rules now.
Okay, that's good.
I think there's at least an attempt made with the club's town halls. I'm not sure how long they've been running these for. I think there was an attempt made, whether or not they were here to actually... They were not there to make major policy changes, which I only found out after. I'd written them quite a few notes.
Wait, so this is not meant to make major policy changes?
No, the ARC's Club's town hall...
was not to make major policy changes?
Yes. They'd already written the policy.
Then what was it for?
Getting feedback on the policy that they've written. And P.S. you only have a couple of days for us to get it in, because we're putting it to ARC board on Friday, it being Wednesday.
So they were there to get feedback on major policy changes, but not to implement the suggestions from students on major policy changes.
Yeah, well, a lot of the response from the ARC people there was, we would raise an issue, and they said, yes, we recognise this is an issue, but it's either too difficult to put through ARC board, or the upper people don't entirely agree with it, and we've just decided it's not worth trying to push through because it's too difficult.
Welcome to ARC, everyone. And I'm going to end the segment there.